those of us who are sitting back watching, reading, and listening, are also wondering, because these are the same measures that Nana President, His Excellency Nana Eii Akuffo Addo announced a couple of years ago. So why are these measures being announced again? Is it that they were not implemented when the President first gave the directive? As I recall, that on assumption of office, one of the first things that the President did was to place some kind of a ban on the importation of new vehicles without justification by ministries, departments, and agencies. 6 years on, his minister is announcing the same measure as some new measure to curb public expenditure. What is happening here? Maybe Kwesi, you can understand. Me, I'm lost. What is happening here? When the President first gave the order, nobody listened to him, it wasn't obeyed, and so on. How can we then be sure that this time round, anybody is going to listen and implement the directive, which is coming, in the budget, and that's worrying. Again, there has been a certain clamor for a reduction of the number of ministers and so on, a cut in appointments to public offices. And I don't see that happening. And I'm wondering why that is not happening, especially as a demonstration. Just a demonstration of a willingness to downsize, in the face of this grueling, economic, hardship and so on. I'm just wondering, okay? Now, there are lots and lots of cosmetics in this budget, and I mean it, cosmetics. What are the cosmetics? We are told that, the e-levy rate, has been reduced, and that the threshold has been removed. What does that mean? They're going to tax us more. You understand? Because before, if you transferred less than 100 cedis, you didn't pay any of the taxes. Okay. Now, Master, if you transfer 5 cedis, you go pay. Okay. So, in a sense, this is more taxation. We're going to be taxed a lot more, than before. So, the cosmetics are obvious. Now, the thing that really has been spoken about quite a lot, and I think that there's good reason to speak about it so much, is the increase in the VAT rate. My goodness, the increase in the VAT rate, that one, it beats me completely. You know why it beats me so much? Because I recall 1995. I recall the current president reading a statement which was actually written by the guy who is now his lawyer, Akuffo Addo, and Dr. Charles Wekubrobby. The two of them put together a brilliant statement on why we should not pay VAT, why we should reject VAT. And this statement was actually read at a press conference by the sitting president. And one of the most effective arguments which was made then was that VAT is regressive. Has VAT stopped being regressive? And as a result of the agitation that we carried out, people died. Several people died on the streets of Accra. They were shot in protest against the imposition of the value-added tax. Now, there are some of them who took part in those protests who are still alive. One of them doesn't have one eye. His eye was removed. Completely removed in the protest. So, after people have died, after people have lost their eyes and so on, in protest against VAT, and at a time when we are fortunate enough, at a time when we have people who led those demonstrations in power, what should we have expected? A complete cancellation of VAT. And yet what we have is increasing of the rate every now and then. That worries me. It worries me very, very deeply. You understand? And sometimes I sit back and I wonder. So somebody like Ahunu Hanga, the student who died, how would his parents be feeling now? I mean, his family, his brothers and sisters, how would they be feeling? Now that we are increasing the VAT rate. And the figures that I have are troubling, you understand? So now that we are increasing the VAT rate, what happens to the memory of Ahunu hunger? Look, we have increased VAT by 2.5%, okay? Now, this brings the effective rate to 21.9%. It means also that for every turnover of 100 cedis, the tax deductible is 21.9 Ghana cedis. And then it goes on and on and on. I mean, the analysis. This is shocking. This is worrying. And this should not be happening now. If it happened under somebody else's administration, maybe we can forgive, we can forget, and so on. But now, should this be happening? Now, one of my worries also has to do with the general freeze on employment in the civil and public service. Okay? And you know why that is worrying to me? Because that's an election campaign issue. You remember?
Yes.
The New Patriotic Party made hell, created hell out of the fact that there was a freeze on public sector employment by the Mahama administration, you know, and hell broke loose. Now, 6 years on, under the New Patriotic Party and under His Excellency Nana Addo Akuffo Addo, there's a freeze again on public sector employment. Did we go or did we come? Is that not the question which is often asked? Did we go or did we come? What is happening? I cannot understand it. You understand? Let's move on. And there are many other things that we can talk about. I'm sure that the Honorable Member of Parliament will raise many issues and then we can come to look at them, you know. But I've read this budget statement at least 3 times. And my worry is that this budget statement doesn't recognize that all the crisis we are facing is the result of the implementation of neoliberal policies. Okay? It doesn't recognize that at all. And this budget statement is still on the path of neoliberalism. I would have thought that having arrived at this state, with the worst performing currency in the world, with unsustainable debt, with all the problems that we have, we would have stopped for a moment and began thinking about a paradigm shift in economic development. And when I say this, it shouldn't sound strange to those in government. I'm not the one who wrote the inaugural speech of the president. Okay? It is people in his party, people in his government, it's aides who wrote that speech. And in that speech, they made the point that we must move away from the Goggisberg economy. So we're saying what I'm saying now. What I'm saying now is not substantially different from what was in the inaugural speech of the president. So how come that there's no indication in this budget that we are moving away from the Goggisberg economy? Indeed, if you read the budget carefully, what this budget seeks to do is to gain some kind of policy credibility which enables it to borrow more. We are creating the conditions to borrow more. And that I find most unfortunate. There's no paradigm shift. There's nothing in this budget which suggests that we want to take steps to own our national resources, to own them, and to exploit these national resources for the benefit of our people. There's nothing in this budget which suggests that. And that's worrying. That's exceedingly, worrying.